Here's my take on the hottest technologies out there in 2023. So, you've probably heard about no code versus some code versus magic. Well, we are not at the point yet of magic, but we do have AI and ChatGPT. And what does these tools help us accomplish? ChatGPT is a great tool that can help you deliver fast as a software developer. It can even sharpen your skills as a software developer. So let's say you're wondering something about some areas or expertise at programming, and maybe you haven't found out exactly what's going on when you read the tutorials. It could be a delegate and event handler. You heard about it, but you're not quite sure what's actually going on. Well, you can start to feed ChatGPT all the questions that you have, maybe come up with some questions with some code and prompt it. Try to read about prompt engineering in order to get better and more efficient results from ChatGPT, because remember, it's not a human, it's just technology. Once you get some good answers, you can try it out in your IDE and you can see, oh, it actually works. And if you have some other questions you are not sure about, go ahead and ask it again. In that area, ChatGPT is great. If you use it for, let's say, refactoring, it's great. It's built in now into most IDEs. For example, Rider, they have their own AI. And Microsoft, of course, they have Copilot, which are now also using OpenAI for my latest information. Hence what ChatGPT says, so don't count me on that. But in those areas, it's a very nice skill to know how to use successfully. And I can assure you that it will definitely help you as a software developer. But when you're actually going to learn something, you should instead come up with functions and names in your own mind about it, or you can ask if it's a good name or if it's something you can suggest better by using the best coding practices. What about no code, which you probably have heard about? There are a lot of no-code tools out there, like Bubble, like Flutterflow, and different type of tools that are also coming up in the ranks as we speak. They do a great job at each thing on their own, but one of them that actually stands out a lot, in my opinion, is something called Flutterflow. Flutterflow just released something new coming up. For example, like migrations, like managing things like GitHub, almost like a pull request, and merging things inside of Flutterflow, which is an awesome feature that are coming up. One thing I would definitely like them to see they integrate is that you can write code on your own in your own IDE and push it back to Flutterflow in order to see those views being generated as a GUI tool. Well, Flutterflow is great because it uses Flutter in itself, and Flutter is built by Google, means it's backed for many years to come, in my opinion. You can always have other opinions, so feel free to let me know what you think about this in the comment section down below. Why should you use Flutterflow instead of only Flutter? Well, in reality, you're probably also going to have to learn Flutter, but that's going to come way down the path once you're going to have some views and some things going on the screen. The app that I'm building right now is actually being built using Flutterflow, and I had the ability to choose between Maui, which I actually know by heart from my Xamarin background, but also trying out Flutter, which I tried and I liked it, and I built some couple of apps with it, some just test apps. But I have to say that you can generate an AI view by just prompting the AI interface in Flutterflow. They've integrated this nicely, and it gives you a nice view sometimes because it's in the making, or you can actually purchase different screens that people have already put together in their marketplace. So imagine you have an iPad. Well, maybe iPad Pro where you have a pencil and you're sitting in a coffee shop. Can you actually build an app with an iPad? Well, yes, you can. With Flutterflow 4.0, you actually can build an app with your own iPad. So imagine you're just sitting in a coffee shop, you're chilling, and maybe you have clients you're building an app for, or maybe you actually have an app that are on the Play Store or on the App Store, and it's generating you a possible amount of income. But now you are fixing some bugs, or maybe you're creating a new app next to the other app that has already been successful. Well, imagine you're just sitting in Italy or Spain or some other place like London and you're having a coffee, and you're going around like this, instead of having to write a single line of code. It's not true that it's so easy that you can just jump right in and boom, you have the app, because you have to learn to build the app differently this time. Imagine if you are really good at how to parse JSON in C# or .NET or other type of frameworks like Dart, for example, or the programming language. Here you actually have to relearn it. So don't go in there as a programmer. Instead, just be curious and try to mimic the way that they do on the tutorials or YouTube, and just play around with it, because I will assure you that you get a lot of just playing around, trying to mimic the way that they are doing and seeing what does this thing do or what does this thing do, and oh, then it suddenly works and you get a really good experience once you see the app taking place. So let's say you're implementing a backend, you have to use the API editor, you have to learn how that works, how do you actually parse the JSON. It's going to be different from the way you're thinking, so you have to learn about the tokens and how you can actually access them a little bit differently. Then there's a lot of properties in each view that you have to understand how you can pass a parameter, how you can take that parameter, but in the end it's actually going to be a nice Flutter app that you can actually publish to the App Store and the marketplace, wherever iOS or Android structure that you're having. So what about .NET and Maui? Well, .NET and Maui is great because .NET, a lot of people, they know .NET by heart these days. You have Java, you have .NET, you have Kotlin. But I have to say that Java is more legacy and it's going to transition a little bit more to Kotlin, but they're still going to have a lot of Java developers out there, and there are many of them. But .NET is kind of like cool and new because they got open source some years ago, and they're still going into the tech industry with a little bit different eyes this time. And you can see that they're still backing up the .NET MAUI project, because before it was branded as Xamarin and now it's .NET MAUI. Should you try it out? Definitely. If you're going to like build some apps with Flutterflow, you're probably going to stop at some point if it's going to be really advanced. But I would say you can definitely go with Flutterflow in terms of building commercial and cool apps in your free time or as a side thing that you have going on. Business type of applications, I would say go instead with MAUI. But where is the Xamarin thing going on in this picture? Where you have Xamarin Native and you have Xamarin Native for iOS and Android. But it looks like Microsoft is really backing up MAUI instead, and they now want you to focus on those particular pieces. I say Xamarin Forms actually means Xamarin Native and iOS because it looks like they're kind of going away from that structure. And I can see it because I've been working as a Xamarin developer for quite some years now. And when you look at the way that you have to build up the different screens, you have to write code 2 times. Even though you're sharing some code and strategy here, you have to still have code someplace, and the views actually needs to be written for one place and another place. And I can argue and say that it takes more time than actually having to write one sample view, which are propagated to both screens. It's not completely true because you have to write some platform-specific code in MAUI. But since the community toolkit are getting better and better and better, it looks like it's kind of not needed in those areas. Some more to say about that later in other videos. So .NET, go ahead, check it out. C#, definitely. The APIs are getting faster and faster. Should you check out Blazor? Yes. I'm not going to cover on Blazor right now, but in other videos, if you want me to do so, I can. But definitely .NET with C# and API, because those things are hot technologies that consultant companies or clients are really looking after. And then on the other side, you have Flutterflow, which I vote for. And if you want me to make some videos about it, I can also do that. And I think Flutterflow as a no-code tool builder is quite great. And when you put those things together with the AI, you have a lot of possibilities. So let me know, guys, in the comment section what you think about these cool technologies out there today. What's going to be the hottest trends in the marketplace? Do you have some ins and outs, maybe workplaces you have been working on? And also let me know what you're going to build with this awesome new technology. As always, guys, happy coding.